less is more. And that phrase, I used to have trouble with that phrase because how can less be more? Like, that makes no sense. It's not logical in my brain. And I started looking at my own limiting beliefs and where did they come from. Use it as almost rocket fuel to take me to the next level.
Purpose can mean different things. I think about the word ikigai, but it gives us an idea, okay, so what is my purpose in life? What am I doing? Is it feeding my soul?
Right.
Is it giving me meaning?
People think they need more hours in their day because now it's very hard to tick all the things into your to-do list. But if we organize that into crystal balls and rubber balls,
okay,
you quickly might be able to identify what are the things that you need to catch first.
Okay, so what am I catching first? Hello and welcome to Coffee with Jenny B. It's conversations over coffee. It's about community, connections, what brings me joy, and everything in between. I'm your host, Jenny Sakovac. We all deal with challenges, with barriers to opportunities and obstacles that sometimes get in our way. And whether they are actual obstacles, imaginary, emotional, whatever it is, it tends to stop us in our tracks. And sometimes we don't know how to get past those barriers, those obstacles, those challenges. But I personally believe that it's an opportunity for us to learn something from the challenge, to learn something from dealing with an obstacle, and to find a way of going through those barriers. Because truly, success is important, but I don't think you truly grow as much from success as you do when you have those challenges that momentarily keep you back. My guest today is someone who knows fully well about dealing with challenges and obstacles and barriers. She's a transformational coach, she's a speaker, and she's an author of the book, On Purpose with Purpose. Please help me welcome Adriana Sandoval. Hello, Adriana.
Hi, it's very nice to be here. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. I'm so glad that you agreed to come on my program. I remember meeting you for the first time at Jocelyn's event, She Grows Manitoba, and we were talking a little bit about your careers and your book and a little bit about your background. And so I'm really curious to learn more about your story. So maybe let's start with transformational coach. What made you decide that this was something that you wanted to do?
Well, you mentioned obstacles and barriers and how we sometimes grow more from those than we do from things that go well. I immigrated to Canada 16 years ago. In Paraguay, where I was born, I had a career in psychology, I had my practice, and when I moved here, that wasn't feasible. I had to start all over again. I had attempts to validate my degree and found myself working in different areas that didn't really fit with my calling. I say I aspire to inspire. And through many challenges, I was at some point diagnosed with complex PTSD. And through my own discovery of what trauma is and how the nervous system regulation is so important in everyday life, I became a coach. And I just thought I want to help people go through the same transition and learn from their obstacles and all these things that happen in everyday life and use them to empower themselves instead of getting stuck in those same cycles of why me and why this keeps happening. And that's how really everything started.
I really love that phrase, aspire to inspire, because it really gives it all that you need to know about moving forward. And I love that you take your own journey, because really when it's something that affects us, that we've dealt with something, then we're in a better position that we can help someone maybe with some of the answers, maybe some of the solutions or the processes that we've gone through. Because even though we're not technically an expert in everything,
Right.
but we're an an expert in what we know as an experience and the knowledge that we've gained over that time. And so how is your journey as a transformational coach from where you started to where you are now? How has that been for you?
It's been challenging. I had to use my own advice sometimes. I say that I would like people to know that when I tell them this is what you could try, it comes from a place of I tried it with me first. And I found myself in this place where I was telling people, do these things, and I wasn't trying it with myself. And I said, this is not coherent. I need to do better. And I started looking at my own limiting beliefs and where did they come from, to then use it as almost rocket fuel to take me to the next level. And so now I start with humility and I tell people, I am not an expert in you. The only person that is an expert in you is yourself. So all I can do is tell you what worked for me. I can give you tips and tools so then you can grab whatever fits your situation and then maybe guide you through understanding what are those blocks. But you are really in control. Well, let me take that back actually, because I say we are not always in control, but we are always in choice. And I learned that recently. We are in choice. It sounds so much more freeing than being in control.
Yes.
Being in control is almost like square and rigid and not really possible.
No.
We can't control everything,
No,
but we can be in choice. We can choose how to take the next step.
And we have a choice every day. Even we were talking about, what we're going to wear today. So we have a choice. We have a choice of what we want to wear. We have a choice of basically anything in life. And I love how you make it about us, and that you're not an expert on who we are, but we know ourselves. And sometimes we think we know ourselves, or we think we know where we're going, but then it's that idea of being stuck. And I know that for me, sometimes when I have so many choices, I don't know where to go, and then I feel overwhelmed, and then I'm stuck, and then I don't know what to do. And so for me, I know sometimes it's removing myself from the situation, going for a walk,
Right.
maybe having something to eat, go, grab a glass of water or something. So these are tools that can help us maybe go above what we're dealing with in terms of being that idea of being stuck. And so what are the other tools or things that we can do to help us remove ourselves from that feeling of being stuck?
Okay, so one of the things that is really important is to understand that our nervous system affects a lot of what we do. So I want to ask you a question.
Okay.
If you and I bump onto each other, holding this cup that you have in front of you right now,
Right.
what will spill out?
Coffee.
Okay, and why will that happen? What will be coffee?
It's a beverage.
But it's what's inside of our cup at the moment.
Right.
So if we had tea, the tea will spill out. If we have water, the water will spill out. So the same thing happens with, we say we can't pour from an empty cup. But what is in your cup? So that is partially important, right? What is in it? So we can have kindness, we can work on patience, we can work on a lot of things. But your nervous system will help you determine how is that coming out of your cup. So I can be very kind, but if I'm dysregulated and I'm very tense, you're not going to receive my kindness the same way.
No.
Same thing with knowledge. I can be very knowledgeable, but if I'm dysregulated and I'm coming really intensely, you might not receive that as a helpful tool or a helpful guidance. You might feel it as pressure or an imposition. So when we learn to regulate our nervous system and we are going through life choosing and being in choice, instead of reacting, now we can respond. And to answer to your questions is a very going around to it, but breathing is one of my favorite things to recommend to people. It's so important because we can live without breathing, but using it as a tool is also very important. And another one is grounding. We live in a place where we can really step outside, take our shoes off, and just feel the grass under our feet. So to learn to use other techniques to ground ourselves and to do it sometimes even without other people knowing, I feel like that's very important. And I teach the 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 technique to people where you can scan the room and you can see 5 things. You can find 5 things you're concentrating on. And then you go down to all your senses until you get to 1, where you can say one thing that you can taste, but also you could use it if you don't have anything at hand to say, what is one thing that I'm grateful for? And so there are many really helpful ones, but grounding and breathing seems so natural and so essential, but they're not being used very often for many people.
And I think because they're too simple. It's like, well,
Right.
breathing, of course I'm breathing. I mean, if I wasn't breathing, I'd be dead.
Yeah.
And then grounding, but not everybody understands the idea of grounding. So what can you do? So if we can't go outside, bare feet, grass, touch a tree, what can we do to ground ourselves? What are some techniques that maybe have worked for you?
So my favorite one is that one. So if we even try it now, you will say, scan the room for 5 things that you can see.
Got it.
And then you'll go down to 4 things that you can hear. And then 3 things that you can touch, and maybe 2 things that you can smell, and 1 thing that you can taste, or 1 thing you're grateful for.
Okay, so I misunderstood the idea of, but absolutely, and really when you take the time to go through each one, it does calm you down a little bit and kind of settle everything inside. Yeah.
Well, because the idea of grounding is to allow you or help you to stay in the present moment. We tend to live either in the past or the future, which most people will explain you are either living more in a depressed state or an anxiety state because you're in neither place.
Right.
But when you're in the present moment, everything is okay right here, right now. Even if I have all these thoughts, I can put those aside for a second and I can just feel my breath. I can feel my feet. I can feel my hands. And when you use the technique of the 5 to 1, you are right here, completely here, because you have to scan your surrounding in this moment. And the good thing about it is you can do it driving. You can do it in a meeting if you're getting a little stressed out or anxious about a topic. Nobody will know.
No, that's true.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I like the idea too, because sometimes when we're in a presence and we feel those vibes and maybe not necessarily a sense of danger, but we just feel a little off and maybe it's either outside influences or something from inside, using that technique can help us understand where we are. And then if we still feel that there's a sense of we don't belong here, then that gives us an opportunity that we can remove ourselves instead of doubting ourselves and wondering, okay, is this in my head?
Right.
You know, is it really bad out there or am I just imagining it?
Yeah.
So being in the present and really taking that time to take stock of everything around you, I think can really help you to understand yourself a little bit more.
Yes. I think there are so many pieces in understanding ourselves, and everything it's a part of it. We, of course, have a history, things that happen in our past and things that will happen in the future. But one thing that I aim for people to experience with me is that I don't want them to think or feel or believe that there is any bad part. Just because you did something that you might not be very proud of in your life at some point, that doesn't mean that that is bad necessarily. And of course, there are actions we take that are not ones that we will like to take again.
Okay.
We won't choose them the same way. So we as humans like categories. So we like to put things in little boxes, but in a whole, we're human. We are going through a human experience, which means we will make mistakes. We will hopefully learn from them.
Yep.
But the idea is there's nothing wrong with you. There's nothing wrong with me. We as a whole are perfectly imperfect.
Mm-hmm.
And so there's nothing to fix. Because if I say, oh, we'll fix this or that, that means there was something wrong. So there's all part of the experience and the learning and the making of who you are today.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that that is very important to keep reminding people. Just, you're human, going through a human experience, and enjoy the ride.
Mm-hmm. That's valid, yes.
Yeah.
Now, you had mentioned PTSD.
Right.
Now, for those that may not be familiar with what that acronym stands for, maybe tell us what that means, and how do we know that we are dealing with that PTSD?
So PTSD stands for post-traumatic stress disorder. Now, the complex part of it, the difference is PTSD is one big event. For example, people that go to war and they experience this one event. When you are in the complex side of it, is a traumatic event that is happening repeatedly through an extended period of time. So in my case, I was in a really bad toxic relationship for almost 3 years. And when you are in that state, you go through the cycles of very, very bad and very, very good. And it's really hard to get out of it because you're looking for that positive reinforcement. You know it's going to be good again.
Right.
So there's a little bit of a difference between the two. They are both valid and both really stressful in the body and the mind. The nervous system gets really dysregulated in both of those.
Right.
It basically is expressed as your nervous system being fried because it's in this constant alert. You're in hypervigilance all the time. So a lot of people live today in hypervigilance because we forget that pausing is important, that taking time for ourselves is important. At some point, I don't know when, we thought that we were more important the busier we were. If you had 20 meetings in one day, you must be important. And I don't think that is the truth. I think that's something that this very fast-paced world is trying to install in us. But if we could go back to remembering that we are beings of transition. We transition from being asleep to then waking up to then doing. We're not meant to be pushed into doing everything all at once. And pausing is one of those tools and things that we can remind ourselves to take in a day. It doesn't have to be a whole vacation every weekend, but pause every day for a couple of minutes is beneficial for your nervous system, for your state of mind. A lot of things happen in your body when you pause. And even for people that work in the corporate world, I remind them and I say, remember that sometimes the most efficient thing you can do today is to pause. Because you can't, if you keep running, you burn out. You actually run out of fuel. You need to pause and refuel once in a while.
Absolutely, and it gets back to that empty cups scenario. Yes. This is actually a really good segue to talk about your book. So, On Purpose with Purpose.
Yes.
What made you decide to, first of all, come up with the concept of that? And maybe it's based on your experience as a transformational coach, but it's a very specific title, On Purpose with Purpose. So tell us about that.
Okay, so a little bit of a backstory, if I may.
Of course.
I actually wrote a different book before that one. That wasn't supposed to be a book. I have a brother and a sister, and we have very different personalities. We were born in the same country with the same parents, live in the same house, but of course we have very different takes in how to raise kids and life itself. And so I thought if I wrote this kind of as a letter to other parents, he will take it better because it's not directed to him precisely. So I wrote it thinking I'm gonna print 3 copies at whatever store I could find that will put them together, made it look presentable.
Mm-hmm.
And while I was doing that, I showed it to friends and they said, you need to make this into a book. A lot of people can benefit from this.
Mm-hmm.
And while I was in the middle of doing all that, I kept having these ideas in my head just flowing about this is what my purpose is, to inspire other people to take their own road, but to maybe give them the tools so then they can start.
Mm-hmm.
Because I think that's the hardest part, is to start something.
Yes.
And so I said, well, but if I'm going to do that, I'm going to do it on purpose. Every day, whatever you choose to do it on purpose. So if you're going to be grumpy, well, be grumpy on purpose. And once you say it like that,
Okay.
it kind of loses its power. Because who wants to be grumpy on purpose?
Interesting. Okay.
So it started like a game of words in my head. But then I thought, you know what? A lot of people can use this. A lot of people can find ways to pause, remember to come back to themselves,
Mm-hmm.
and to find out who they were before the world told them who they needed to be. Because I think that, especially as women, I think that we are told to be certain things at certain stages of our lives.
Yes.
You know, you have to sit a certain way and you can't be too loud. Maybe there are so many layers of that. And I think it's time that we go back to find our purpose on purpose.
I love that. I want to go back to what you were saying about your brother and sister and the
Yeah.
fact that, you know, you all had the same set of parents, but your experience is a little different.
Yeah.
And I remember watching an interview with Gabor Mate, and someone asked him that question, you know, we have the same parents, but, you know, why are we so different? And his response was that you were born at different stages. So the parents that you had at your stage, so let's say you're a firstborn,
Yeah.
and your parents are treating you differently as a firstborn, and now you're the middle child, and so now it's different. And then the younger child, it's completely different, even though you had the same set of parents, but you had parents at different stages of their lives
Right.
and in your life. So that would explain that, you know, even though it's the same, your experiences are a little different.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I'm going to share with you a story about my sister,
Okay.
because we reacted to being scolded or corrected in very
Right.
different ways.
Mm-hmm.
I cannot stand my mom being upset with me, and it will eat me up from the inside. I get worried and sad. And I remember this one time I was crying, and she was reading this magazine on her bed. We share a room, and I said, how can you be so calm? How is it this doesn't affect you? And her answer changed a lot of how I viewed my parents later on, because she said, you raised very different parents than I did. So imagine that.
Wow. So you raised, like you
Yes.
raised different parents.
Yes. So not only our parents are at different stages of their lives, but we as kids are having different interactions with our parents based on our personalities too.
Okay.
So she said, you raised very different parents, meaning my interaction with them, my responses were very different. So we were feeding a different relationship. My boundaries were different than her boundaries.
Okay.
So my parents might have had the same rules, but they were not applied the same because they're not different. They're not the same person. They're very different people, right?
Okay.
And I think that applies to almost everything. Every relationship you have
Is different.
is different. Not because the person you're treating is different, but because that elastic band of what do I allow you and what do you allow me, and where is the line that is moved according to the different personalities of the
Right.
people that we're interacting with.
And we're also experiencing different things, and we grow at different stages. And
Yes.
and I'm sure that there's, you know, people have said, you know, you've changed, you know, what's going on? Well, you know, I look at your butterfly, right? And
Yeah.
and butterflies, I mean, they have to change, otherwise they stay in a cocoon and they will die. So they have to evolve and become who they were meant to be. And so maybe it's because we evolve at different stages, and maybe some of us don't evolve at all. And we're perfectly content
Yeah.
being at the stage where we are, and we don't have that desire to want to change. But when we're dealing with someone who has changed or who has that desire to want to change, there can be that friction, I would suppose.
Yes, you're right. And that actually reminds me almost full circle to what you were saying at the beginning about things are hard or that we see as obstacles. At my parents' house, there was this cocoon, or I guess, is it chrysalis for butterflies?
Yes, yeah.
I'm still trying to, some technicalities in my brain goes to Spanish, so I have to wait a second, that's a different word. And as a kid, I could see the butterfly trying to come out of it. So I thought, I will help it.
Oh, no.
So I opened it,
Yeah.
and I let the butterfly out, and the butterfly wouldn't fly.
Right.
So I thought, oh no, what's happened? It's sick. And my dad comes in, and he's like, oh, what happened? What did you do? And I told him. And he's like, well, I don't know. He didn't know much about it either. But later in life, I learned in school that they need that pressure that to me looked like pain.
And the goo and the guck and everything inside of it, I know.
So they need that pressure and that hard moment in their lives to then be able to fly. That does something to their wings. I don't want to pretend I know, but it does something to their wings, so then they can then fly.
Mm-hmm.
And I rob that butterfly from the process, which is such a hard thing to do as a parent. I see my daughter sometimes struggling with certain things, and before I was a mom, I used to help kids a very different way. I will rush and try to do it for them because I thought I'm being helpful.
Yes.
And now I go back to the butterfly, and I don't want to mess up with her wings. So even though it's a struggle and I see her going through that, I just tell her, sometimes in life, you might not even be next to me, but I'll be here. You can always come back. I can help you go through it. I just can't do it for you.
Okay.
And I think that's valid for everybody in our lives. Sometimes we have the best of intentions and we want to do things for people. In coaching, I can't. I've seen it, I know where they're going, but if I give you all the answers, then I'm robbing you from the opportunity of getting your wings.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, that is so beautiful. And you're absolutely right. It makes me think of that phrase, the road is paved with good intentions.
Yes.
And we mean well, but at the same time, you're right, we're robbing them of that opportunity to find that answer for themselves. And also on the flip side, though, if we give them the answers, they may not necessarily like the answers that we've given them, or let's say they decide to take our advice on something and it doesn't work out. And so now they're blaming us because, well, you told me.
It's a lot of responsibility.
A lot of responsibility. And really, it's not for us to say what they should be doing, but we can help them find the way by guiding them and really getting them to talk about it. And that's what I love about therapists or coaches that are there to guide us to find the answer, because sometimes we know what the answer is inside, but maybe we're not ready to face it, or maybe we don't know. There's a lot going on inside, and we have conflicting ideas, and we're not sure which path we should be taking. And so working with someone who can then get us to talk about our experiences and have us find that aha moment where we finally become the butterfly or the person that we were meant to be.
Yes, that is so true. I like it.
Thank you. So it's important that you used your personal journey to do something that you wanted initially just for your siblings, to now have this beautiful, important book that really helps us to guide us with that purpose. Because purpose can mean different things. I think about the word ikigai, which talks about, well, purpose is actually one of the aspects of ikigai, but it gives us an idea, okay, so what is my purpose in life? What am I doing? Is it feeding my soul? Right. Is it giving me meaning?
Yeah.
And I want to ask you about that as well. So when it comes to purpose and meaning, what are your thoughts about that?
That's interesting. Let me think about it for a second. So for me, meaning is something more direct, and purpose is something that you give your life to. So sometimes I think that the meaning of something is not the purpose of something, but it's interesting to put them as a separate categories. Like I said, we like to put them in, but I think that they feed from each other.
Okay.
I think that I will see them as helping each other. You can have, the meaning of my degree was this, and now the purpose of my life is not attached to that. So if I say that they're the same, then I wouldn't be able to help other people. But for me, the purpose then is, my purpose is to
help people find
guide,
meaning?
to guide them so then they can find meaning in their own life and hopefully their purpose too.
Okay, I love that, because I think about myself as an instructor. My purpose is to be an instructor, to teach.
Right.
But by teaching my students, I'm helping them find meaning. And as a result of the meaning of the importance of why they're there, that then gives them that purpose to
Right.
continue. So it's almost
They
almost
feed
like,
off each other,
right?
right?
It's a
Yeah.
continuous loop.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, I like thinking it like that. That's very interesting. Thank you for sharing that.
You're welcome. Because I know I thought about this, a while back, and I'm thinking purpose, meaning, and some people might have purpose, or maybe they feel they don't have purpose, but their meaning in life is to do this.
Right.
But you're right, the two complement each other and feed off each other, because you
Yeah.
can't really have one without the other.
No, I don't
Right? You
think
can't just go
so.
purpose, but then at some point,
What does that mean?
right? And then why are you doing this?
Yeah.
So maybe sometimes the meaning is finding that meaning for yourself. Okay, why am I doing this? Oh, I'm doing this because it gives my life something that I look forward to.
Right.
Right? Because you talked about busy earlier.
Yes.
Busy. But sometimes we're on autopilot. We just go. Versus, as you say, taking that pause to kind of take a step back and think, okay, do I need to do this? Why am I doing this? What is it giving me? Is it bringing me
Right.
joy? Is it bringing me happiness? Is it giving me fulfillment? Am I satisfied doing it? And is that okay? Is that enough for me?
Yes.
And if it's not enough for me, then I need to find something that will give me more. So then my purpose is to find that thing that's going to give me more.
Or less.
Or less.
Right? And it's interesting when we get into these conversations and we can ground ourselves into this moment, we can think in ways that we wouldn't if we were just distracted by everything happening around us. We always think we need more, better, higher.
Yeah.
It seems like measuring purpose and meaning needs to always be a higher number.
Right.
But I think that sometimes, like with pausing, less is more. And that phrase, I used to have trouble with that phrase, because how can less be more? Like, that makes no sense. It's not logical in my brain. But less can be more. Because you can then, by having that pause, but by slowing down, or by removing things that are distracting you, then you can do more things that are important. It's the whole theory of the crystal balls and the rubber balls.
Okay.
So people think they need more hours in their day because now it's very hard to tick all the things into your to-do list. But if we organize that into crystal balls and rubber balls,
Okay.
you quickly might be able to identify what are the things that you need to catch first.
Okay, so what am I catching first?
The
The crystal ball,
ones.
because it's going to break.
It's going to break. So then what are those things in your life that are in the crystal ball category?
Okay.
Family relations, maybe, health.
Yep.
Those are things that if they fall and they break,
Oh.
you can't recover. Like, even if you put them
right.
together, they will never be the same.
No.
But the rubber ones are things that will bounce back. So things that you still want to catch, that are still part of your basket of things,
Right?
but that they will recover quickly.
Yes.
So we can let those ones fall.
Okay, I love that analogy. Yeah. And back to less is more, I tell my students all the time, less is more, because they feel that they need to cram all this information into their presentations or into their assignments.
Yeah.
And I always say less is more. Dial it back.
Yes.
Really focus on that one thing that you want to talk about, because you can talk about 8 things,
Yes.
but it's going to lose. It's somewhere you are going to be lost. Your audience is going to be lost.
Yeah.
So really focus on that one thing. And it's interesting because I had one student actually who gave me less, and my response to him was, well, you could have given me more.
I follow your advice. I think that it's a balance. Everything in the balance. I repeated that so much that now my nephews sometimes say balance, balance. And they might not understand the whole concept, but it's something that I believe in. My mom used to say, everything in moderation. If you exaggerate with anything, then that's going to be bad for you, even water. And I was like, how can water be bad for you? But go back to the less is more. There are things that we might not quite understand right this moment. Kind of the whole theory of bad things happen for a reason, or you can choose to learn from them.
Right.
But I think that if we pay attention, if we slow down, if we pause, and we choose, then we might see a little bit of meaning everywhere we go.
I love that. I love that. And this is actually a good way to end our conversation. But before we do that, where can someone buy a copy of your book?
So it's in Amazon.
Okay.
They can find it online. They can choose between the hard copy, or if they like to have it on a Kindle. But they can also go to Indigo Saint Vital and get a copy from the shelf right there.
Wonderful. And can they go to your website for more information? Let's say if they were looking for coaching, where can they go?
Right now, I am doing it from Instagram. I decided I wanted to redo my whole website, so somebody's helping me with that, because I'm learning more about creativity and technology, putting them together.
Okay.
But if they want to find me on Instagram, on time_in_approach, and also at myadriana. I use both of them. In one of them, they will find more things about my book and projects as a speaker that I'm being part of. And on the other one, they will find more coaching tips and tricks and tools that it might be helpful for a day-to-day basis.
Right. No, that's wonderful. Thank you so much. And thank you so much for being here, sharing your story, your journey, talking about your book. And I loved our conversation, how we were in sync with each other. So thank you so much.
Thank you for having me. I hope that a lot of people get to take advantage of our conversation and get to know more.
And I'm sure they will. Absolutely. So thank you very much, Adriana.
Of course. Thank you.
You're welcome. So this has been Coffee with Jenny B for the You Multicultural channel. I'm your host, Jenny Sakovac.